This is something you have never seen before. How to thinly shredded your meat.
And you're just gonna add a little bit of oil. Again, I would probably use coconut oil or avocado at home. A little bit of salt, and we're gonna throw it in there right along that side of the sweet potatoes. And butternut squash doesn't take that long to bake, usually only like 15 to 20 minutes, and you're just looking for a soft texture, like when you poke a fork in, it should fall out.
So the very first step is probably the most boring step to watch, so I'm just gonna grate the potatoes. So the reason that you grate the potatoes, these have been washed, and the reason that I'm gonna grate them into water is because potatoes oxidize super quickly and they turn brown. So at the restaurant, we do this in huge quantities and we don't use a home box grater, but here, this is what I'm gonna use, so.
Every Monday I do like a big batch of hard-boiled eggs. You can do soft-boiled, you can get any kind you really want, and you can steam them, you can do high pressure. I never am able to cook rice, so I just do a big batch of rice in here, and it's foolproof. Like, I just don't touch it, just leave it alone. I think that's the hardest part, is you can't see what's going on inside.
I'm just gonna puree it. I don't wanna get it, I like the texture of carrot in there, so it's not imperative that it's very smooth, but it's okay if it's very smooth. But I kind of think like the texture of rice, maybe the coarseness of broken rice is a good way to think about it.
So we have here the egg yolk, white wine, lemon juice mixed, and the traditional way of making a hollandaise, you make it with tarragon. But today, we don't want to do traditional, we want to use some dill. So it has a nice color.
Has anybody cooked with kombu? Okay, so kombu is my favorite dashi ingredient. This kombu is very special. I don't know if you've seen a really long one like this. This can be as tall as you, one tall American, like 6 feet tall. And this is Laosu kombu from the peninsula of Laosu and Hokkaido. Most of the really premium kombus come from Hokkaido because that's where the cold waters in Siberia, the different currents meet, and makes it very habitable, a pleasant habitat for the kombu.
If you're using a scale, and a scale unfortunately never lies, 1 inch of ginger is approximately 1 ounce. So you'll find sometimes like, whoa, that ginger looks like it's really chubby, but it's really, because it's got like, maybe it's just really dense or too watery, but you really like get up to that 1 ounce for that gingery quality.
I've made this chickpea puree, which, to be honest, you could use any bean, especially white beans though. I actually made one that I'm not going to show you yet ahead of time so that we can get right to it.
All right.
So Lee started on something about how all these condiments can go with other things and be saved when you're using your leftovers, and a couple weeks later you open the fridge and you see it's still there and you decide to put it on a pasta. I think with the holidays coming up, it's like all sorts of opportunity. Use this to make your life easier. And they're all simple recipes. You don't have to be a professional chef. Anybody who's watching this can say, I can do that, even if you're not a home cook most of the time.
When I make my pizzas, and if you've ever been to Tony's Pizza Napolitana or any of my other places, it's always about balance. If it's sweet, it could be spicy, it's salty. You always have these 3 to 4 different flavor profiles, and you're gonna see this in a couple pizzas we're gonna make today.
But I think what Scandinavia is perhaps most renowned for are the berries. And we have all of the berries that we're familiar with here, but also some really distinctive, very special ones. On the left, you have cloudberries, which are very fleeting. They ripen in the end of August, and they grow in bogs. And what you'll see if you're driving on the roads in the northern part of Finland, Sweden, and Norway, they don't really grow in Denmark, is people in full, they're like beekeepers because they're covered head to toe, but they're protecting themselves against the mosquitoes, which are really vicious, but the foragers want the cloudberries so much that it's worth it.
And we're gonna just slicing.
That's how you guys cut it home?
I'm doing it in a really traditional way where 30, 40 years. There is no processor like to blend everything. And women in kitchen, like they have a lot of time now. We are moms, we are business owners, we have a shortage of time. So you can, guys, if you have a limit of time, just dump everything on a processor and grind it.
So this is a brown roast sugar. So chef took from a coffee station, from a little. So that's why you should wait a little bit, started getting delayed because of this. You can make this and ahead. Mix with the anise, black peppercorn, and cinnamon.
One thing that Marianne took out, which I love, is that ice cream scoop. And that means you can get really evenly sized meatballs, which is awesome. But you can also just kind of freeform it. They don't have to be like super perfect. I'm a big fan of food that's like not totally perfect. I love homemade stuff just in general and in theory. So anyway, so if you guys want to help me out, we can use this or just, do it about that size. Yeah, go for it.
My name's Chris. I've been doing these Google Talks now for a long time, but they've become so much more professional and fancy. And there are more people here than there used to be. It used to be me and one Googler just talking about food things in restaurants.
So what we've got our brownie batter, which is nice and gooey, tastes exactly like brownie batter. And we've got our chocolate chip cookie dough. So in order to make the brookie, what we would do, which we're not gonna do right this second, is we would take this, we would press it down in a pan and we would bake it. So the bottom is a full-on brownie. Then we would add a layer of chocolate chip on top of that once it's cooled, and then stick that back in the oven until it gets nice and gooey and it's not fully baked. And then it gets topped off with the chocolate ganache.
So this looks awesome. Tomatoes in. If you ever go to the market, and I know tomatoes are just getting out of season, but ask for seconds. What are seconds? Yeah, imperfect. They're always under the table at the farmer's market, even at Whole Foods. They have these tomatoes that are busted, they're open, they can't sell them. For something like this or a tomato sauce, it's genius, right? Because they're bursting with sugar, they're bursting with juice. That is prime time tomatoes, and they'll give it to you for like much, much reduced price. All right, so stir that in, my dear. You got it? Now, we're gonna throw in our flavor bomb. And then, yes?
Can you reuse cheesecloth, or do you throw that away?
You can absolutely reuse it. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I've never done it, but you could absolutely do it. I will start reusing my cheesecloth.